Chapter 81, I have a date tonight. She looked at Amy with confidence and righteousness, causing Amy to shift her gaze away coldly. Zoe said, "What you are doing is right. Ignoring people you don't like is the best way to resolve it." She smiled. Just as she was finishing her meal, her cell phone rang. It was Nick Anderson. She picked up the phone and said, "Hello. Where are you?" "I'm eating where I work." "You went to work again?" Nick Anderson said helplessly. "You're about to start working right now. Can't you give yourself a break?" "Laura, tell me, why do you insist on living such a difficult life?" "I like it this way. This kind of life is very fulfilling." "Does life change when you obediently rest at home for a few days?" "Yes. You," Nick Anderson said helplessly. After he laughed, he asked, "Has that William Walton went to find you again in the past few days?" If her brother knew that she was working at William Walton's company, he would be furious. "Brother, I can take care of my matters. Don't worry about it. I'm your brother. How could I not care about your matters?" Nick Anderson said as he sighed, "I just want you to protect yourself. Do you understand?" "I will. Let's have dinner together tonight." "But I have an appointment tonight." "More important than a date with your brother?" "I'm mainly afraid of your parents talking nonsense." "They are them. I am me. I want to have a meal with my sister. It's none of their business." All right then." Hanging up, she let out a Laura sigh. Zoe looked at her, pretending as if nothing had happened, and asked, "You have a date tonight?" Laura nodding her head, she pursed her lips and gave a slight smile. "Yep. Last time, you told Jerry that you have a boyfriend. Is that true? Your boyfriend is that guy upstairs?" "Director, you misunderstood me. We didn't have that kind of relationship." Zoe was puzzled. How could this be? They had that kind of relationship. Could it be that she guessed wrongly? After dinner, she returned to her office. When she went to the tea house to pour water, Amy also caught up. She looked at Laura, carefully looking towards the door, and unhappily said, "Laura, you said that you didn't want to stay in the company. You must have lied. Otherwise, why are you being so close to Zoe? You know that Zoe's been promoted recently, so you flattered her, right?" Laura looking at her, her expression was also somewhat cold. "That's none of your business. We're all colleagues. We should trust each other, shouldn't we?" "You're evil to the bones." She looked at her ironically and shook her head with a smile. The environment in which she had grown up was not considered very good. Even so, she could tell the difference between right and wrong. However, this Amy could turn the right thing into wrong. If Elsie Clark was tactful, then this person must be the type to exude a domineering aura. After she received the water, she wanted to leave the tea house. Amy spread her arms out, blocking her way. "Laura, I need this job. You don't even know what I paid for this job. I won't let you succeed. No matter what, I won't give you my opportunity. Let's just wait and see." At that moment, someone pushed open the door and entered. Amy moved her hand forward and patted on her shoulder. "Look at you, there's something on your clothes, okay? It's clean now. I'll go out first." She turned and walked out. Laura stood on the spot, speechless, and smiled. Her acting is simply spectacular. After work in the afternoon, she warmly sent William Walton a text message. "Don't come to my house tonight. I have an appointment to eat with my brother." Very quickly, her phone rang. After she got out of the elevator, she picked up. "Hello." William Walton said unhappily, "I think this Nick Anderson is too idle. Otherwise he wouldn't have time to invite you out for dinner. What you care about is too much. Because of him, I have no place to eat tonight. Can't I be unhappy?" "Laura," she lowered her eyes and chuckled. "I'm going to take the bus. I'm hanging up." William Walton was unhappy. Damn Nick Anderson. Laura arrived at the entrance of the restaurant that Nick Anderson had pointed out. Nick Anderson had already arrived first. "Brother, why are you so early?" "To eat with you. I've taken up some time. Let's go. I've already reserved a table for you." The two of them entered the dining room and sat in a quiet position near the window. Since it was a Chinese restaurant, he specifically ordered tea for her. Taking 2 sips, Nick Anderson asked, "Where have you been recently?" "I went to the coffee shop where you were working the day before yesterday to look for you." She swallowed. "I'm with a friend, so it's not too convenient to tell you." "You're so secretive every day. Did you go to a bar again?" She shook her head. "Laura, no, I'm going to work at the school soon. I definitely won't go to that kind of place again. I'm also afraid of causing trouble for myself." Nick Anderson laughed. "Girl, you know everything clearly. This is the most unusual thing about you." He took out a set of teas and placed them in front of her. She frowned. "What is this?" "I bought you a house in the Oasis district next to your school. As a gift to celebrate you are graduated and got a job. From now on, you don't have to squeeze into the staff dorms with others and live in your own house. The owner is you, which I bought with my own money, and it has nothing to do with the Anderson family." She pursed her lips and pushed the key back in front of him. Nick Anderson frowned. "What, you want to reject me again?" "Brother, I have healthy limbs and I'm working hard to improve. I can't take your gift. I do lack a house right now, but I will buy it myself. Believe me, one day I will have a real estate certificate. I have confidence in myself." Nick Anderson looked at her. He liked her stubbornness, which was different from other girls, but he also especially hoped that her stubbornness was directed at someone else, not him. This can't be considered as profit by other people's toil. This is a brother's gift for his sister. You should take it. She firmly shook her head. This gift is too valuable to me. Laura, I won't force you to do anything else, but this house, will you take it? Even if you can earn money and then return it to me in the future, I would be willing to. I do not wish for you to grow up and graduate, but still live in a place without a fixed home. I hope to be able to give you a home. He wished with all his heart that he could say the last sentence as a man, not a brother. However, not yet. Chapter 82, Fortuitous Encounter. Laura looked at him with a faint smile but still shook her head. Nick Anderson was helpless. Why are you so stubborn? If I am not a member of the Anderson family, then can you accept the gift I gave you? But if you aren't a member of the Anderson family, then you aren't my big brother. If that's the case, how could I know you, and why would I sit here and eat with you? In short, brother, put away the key. Don't do this again. I feel uncomfortable. Nick Anderson said as he kept the key. It doesn't matter if you don't want it, since you are the owner. Even if you don't want to live in the house, it is still yours. After he finished speaking, he gave her some food and said, We will not discuss this any further. Let's eat. Laura nodded with a smile, then ate the food. The two finished their meal and were about to leave, but before they could leave the restaurant, they met a pair of familiar faces, Tom and Amy. She was not surprised to see the two of them together. After all, she already knew their relationship. On the other hand, the two people, especially Tom, had a face full of surprise when they saw this. To cause unnecessary trouble, Laura did not greet them. After all, Nick Anderson was very smart. If they continued to chat like this, wouldn't he know where she would go to work? She pulled Nick Anderson around them and left on the other side. Walking a few steps, Nick Anderson asked in bewilderment, Is it someone you know? That woman is one of the people I hate. Student? Laura, she shrugged. We're colleagues who work part-time together. Behind him, Tom stopped and looked back. Amy asked in bewilderment, Who is that man? He brought her to this high-end restaurant to eat? Tom muttered, The heir to Anderson's group, the young master of the Anderson family, Nick Anderson. Amy was flabbergasted. Is he Anderson's group that Walton Group is currently dealing with? Otherwise, is there a lot of Anderson's group in the city? Amy was even more surprised. She had thought that she was noble even when she said that she had hidden her ears and mocked and ridiculed her the other day, but it turned out to be nothing more than this. However, she didn't expect that she would meet such a formidable person. It seemed like her ambitions were much greater than hers. She released Tom's hand and quickly took out her phone. When the two of them were about to leave the house, she took 2 photos of their backs. Tom stared at her. What are you doing? Don't be nosy. Brother, I worry about her speaking nonsense after seeing us together. After all, you know that she has caused a lot of trouble after coming to the company, so I don't care, but I don't want you to affect your work because of me. With these photographs as evidence, I don't think she'd dare to gossip. Tom smiled and caressed her hands. You little darling, you've thought it through carefully. Amy smirked as she kissed him on the cheek. The two of them sat down and went to eat. The next day, she came to the company. Amy was coming out of the tea house. Seeing that she had arrived, she giggled as she pulled it into the tea house. Laura, I have something that I want to share with you. Come over. At this moment, everyone in the office was preparing for work, so no one paid any attention to them. Amy closed the door of the tea house, leaned on it, and smiled mischievously at her. She looked at her with a calm expression. What happened? I thought you were noble, but I didn't expect you were much paltry than me at all. However, you are luckier than me, and the man next to you is very good. As she spoke, she extended her hand. Now that we know each other's secrets, should we ally? In the future, we can help each other in this company. Since you're related to Walton Group's mortal enemy, you probably didn't think about staying in the company. I misunderstood you previously. I apologize to you. She looked down at Amy's outstretched hand and tilted her head in a disdainful smile. Amy frowned. What kind of expression is that? You look down on me? Amy, do not use your dirty thoughts to guess at others and do not compare others with you. At least there is no comparison between the two of us. As she spoke, she swept Amy's hand away. I'm not going to be friends with someone like you. Heh. It can't be that you've been acting high and mighty for so long. Do you think you're that high and mighty? You're the same type of person as me, so where did your confidence come from to make you think you're superior? I know who I am. I don't like to do things to hide my ears and steal his bells. Also, I'm not the same type of person as you, and I'm not even a level higher than you. I keep my distance from you just because what I learned from childhood is that getting close to a good man and leaving a villain. You hurt me so much last time, so I remember so well. After she finished speaking, she looked at her coldly, walked around her, and returned to the desk from the tea house. 10 days to go. She had made up her mind. In these 10 days, she had to keep a good distance from everyone. Amy was disdainful, her mouth twitched, pretentious. Noon, Jerry, who had just finished his training, walked in front of the Laura Green desk. He knocked on her desk. When she raised her head and saw that he was smiling at her, she became more vigilant. Leader, what's the matter? Let's have lunch together. There's a new restaurant opposite the company. I heard that it's pretty good. His enthusiasm attracted the attention of several people in the office, including Amy. She pursed her lips and thought to herself, how could a person who had eaten swan meat like Laura even like to eat chicken? Jerry is overestimating himself. He shook his head. Laura, leader, I won't be going. I have an appointment with the director to go to the cafeteria. She stood up, tidied up the documents on the table, and looked towards Zoe, who was in the corner. Director, should we leave now? Zoe smiled at her, then got up. Let's go. When she passed by Jerry, she patted his shoulder and said, go find someone else. In the future, I will be contracting Miss Lady out for lunch. The two of them walked out of the office. Laura looked at her with a smile. Director, thank you for just now. That's not a big deal. I have to eat anyway. The entrance of the restaurant. Her cell phone rang. Seeing that it was William Walton calling, she told Zoe to go in first, walked to the side and picked up the phone. Hello. Where are you? What's the matter? Can't I call you if I'm fine? She curled her lips. He's too free. I'm having a meal at the company's restaurant. It's a little noisy, so I won't talk to you anymore. I'm hanging up. She hung up and went back into the dining room. William Walton was not in a good mood and shouted at the door. Daniel, come in. Daniel pushed the door and entered the room. Mr. Walton, do you have any instructions? How's the taste of the dishes in our company's restaurant? I heard it's not bad. Is that so? Then let's go to the restaurant today. Chapter 83. Is it too exaggerated? Daniel was startled. To the dining hall? Was he serious? He had never been to a restaurant before. What's going on? After William Walton finished speaking, he stood up and walked towards the door. Daniel quickly followed. Mr. Walton, at this time, there must be a lot of people in the dining hall. Should I call ahead of time and let them clean up? We're all employees. Why did they have to clear the area? Other people also have the right to eat. All right, come with me. Daniel quickly kept quiet. When William Walton appeared in the employee cafeteria, it was as if the restaurant was suddenly tranquilized. The restless crowd stopped. They had been chatting excitedly. Now they stopped. Everyone's eyes fell on him, who was at the door. William Walton's gaze swept across the few hundred square meters of the dining hall and instantly found that beautiful woman. He curled his lips and said in a low voice, let everyone eat their food. Don't bother with me. Daniel immediately said, everyone, please continue eating. Under hundreds of gazes, William Walton walked towards the table where Zoe and Laura Green were at. Zoe stood up and looked at William Walton. Mr. Walton. She could only stand up and respectfully bowed to him. Mr. Walton. He looked at Zoe. Move one of your seats inside. Zoe immediately moved and sat down opposite of her. With a smile, he said, sit. The two of them sat down together. William Walton said to Daniel, go and get some food. Oh, okay. Daniel shifted his gaze from Laura's face. When he first saw her, he was truly stupefied. Since when did Miss Green come to work at the company? Could it be that Mr. Walton's recent strangeness was because of her? It's true. Mr. Walton's change started after he was asked to investigate Laura. William Walton hugged his chest and stared at Laura for 3 seconds before he shifted his gaze away and looked at Zoe. I heard that the taste of the dishes in the dining hall is good? Zoe said anxiously. Yes, Mr. Walton. Not only are their tastes good, but there are also a lot of types. That's good. From the onlooker's perspective, the two were chatting because William Walton knew Zoe. Some people were even discussing, wondering if Mr. Walton had taken a fancy to Zoe. However, Zoe did not look that good. Could it be that Mr. Walton has a unique eye? No matter what, the restaurant at noon was quieter than ever before. Daniel brought over the food and placed it in front of William Walton. Mr. Walton, take a look. Is there anything here that suits your taste? Everything is fine. You take a seat too. Daniel hesitated, but just as he was about to sit beside Laura Green, William Walton leaned towards him. Who asked you to sit there? Seeing that, Zoe patted her other side of a seat. Daniel, sit here. I'll help you clean up. Daniel immediately moved over. This Mr. Walton was simply too frightening. Laura lowered her head to eat. She was extremely depressed in her heart. This William Walton, exactly why did he come here? It was too exaggerating. She treated William Walton as heir and didn't even spare him a glance. William Walton endured his laughter. He knew that it was because of her guilt. After all, there were so many people here. She deserved it. Who told her to hang up on him? This is punishment. William Walton picked up his chopsticks and started to eat. As he ate, he asked, did you enjoy dinner with that person last night? Zoe was startled. What's going on? Did Mr. Walton know about the matter of she eating dinner with a man last night? After all, they were not a couple. In her opinion, Mr. Walton had a crush on Laura. Could it be, did Laura reject Mr. Walton? Sigh, how could that be possible? In this world, how could anyone reject Mr. Walton? Laura Green knew that William Walton was asking her, but she chose to refuse to answer him and did not speak. William Walton looked up at her. Miss Green, I'm asking you a question. His voice was not soft. She tensed up and looked around to make sure no one was paying attention. Then she said softly, it's pretty good. William Walton smiled and continued to eat. He didn't tell you anything? Nope. How is this possible? I told you. No. There was a trace of displeasure in her voice. By the side, Daniel swallowed his saliva. This woman, are you crazy? How dare you speak to Mr. Walton like that? William Walton was not angry at all. I'm going out for a party tonight. Do you want to come with me? I still need a girlfriend. The expression on her face, which was bent over eating, changed slightly. So she didn't have to prepare his dinner tonight? Don't you feel so good? I'm not going, she refused straightforwardly. Mr. Walton, you can't talk while eating, just eat. You weren't like this before, a woman. On the side, Zoe and Daniel. One of them was so nervous that he couldn't even taste anything. The other one was so frightened that her jaw was about to break away from the mouth. However, they all had a common question. What's going on? She quickly finished her food, put down her forks, stood up, and bowed towards William Walton. Mr. Walton, I'm done eating. I'll head back to my office first. After she finished speaking, she glanced at Zoe, picked up the plate, and left. It was dangerous. She had to flee. There were only 3 people left on the table. William Walton asked, Is there anyone who has been harassing her for the past few days? Zoe knew that these words were asking her. Mr. Walton, don't worry. A week ago I arranged for Jerry to go on a business trip and he just returned today. Very good. If someone else comes near her, report to me. Yes. When she got home from work in the evening, she hummed a tune and entered the kitchen. However, when she thought that she would eat alone tonight, her expression dimmed a bit. It's a little lonely. She turned and walked out of the kitchen, pulled out her cell phone, and ordered takeout. Tonight, she was going to free her hands and eat takeaway food. At 9 o'clock in the evening, she laid down. Just as she was about to go to bed, she suddenly felt a pain in her stomach. She rubbed her stomach, still feeling uncomfortable. She ran to the bathroom and vomited. After that, she felt dizzy and her chest felt stuffy. She found her medicine chest, took out her laxatives, and took 2. The symptoms did not ease. At 10 o'clock, her cell phone rang. She feebly turned around and picked up the phone. Hello? On the other side of the phone, William Walton heard that something was wrong and frowned. Are you asleep? No, not yet. Why your voice is so strange? Nothing. I'm just a little tired and just about to go to sleep. When she finished, nausea rose in her mouth again. She hung up and ran to the bathroom so he wouldn't notice. Chapter 84, Acute Gastroenteritis. Laura lying on the bed feeling the pain in her stomach, she turned over and curled herself into a ball. This feeling was too unbearable. At the door, a bell suddenly rang. Laura turned her head to look at the door. At this time, who could it be? She ignored him at first, but the phone rang. She picked it up and took a look. It was William Walton again. She picked up the phone and said, Hello? Open the door. The person at the door is you. Otherwise, how many people would know about this place? Hurry up and open the door. She slowly got up, went to the door and opened it. At the door, when William Walton saw her pale face with his disheveled and haggard appearance, he could not help but frown. What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Why does your face look so bad? She looked at him. I may have had a bad stomach. I've been vomiting and diarrhea. I'm having a stomachache right now. Then hurry to the hospital. He half lifted her to show her out. She waved her hand. I've taken some medicine, but it does not have any effect. You're a doctor again, giving yourself medicine? I found out that studying too much is also a problem. He didn't give her another chance to speak. He picked her up and carried her to the door. When she had the strength, she was stubborn. However, she couldn't win against him, so she just let him do as he pleased. After William Walton brought her to the hospital for inspection, the doctor gave her the diagnosis of acute gastroenteritis due to eating unclean food. By 11:30, Laura Green was already lying in the ward, dripping liquid and sleeping. These 2 hours, she had been tormented quite a bit. William Walton sat on the bedside and looked at her. Seeing that she was fast asleep, he picked up her phone and flipped through. Just now, the doctor had asked her what she had eaten that night. She told the doctor she was eating takeout tonight. Finding the take-out record she'd ordered today, he took a photo with his cell phone and saved it. Looking at her sleeping face, he rose slightly and kissed her on the cheek. He then caressed her head. Have a good night's sleep. When you wake up, you'll be fine. After an hour or so, with a soft growl from her stomach, she opened her eyes and got up to go to the bathroom. William Walton slept on the bed attendant next door. She walked carefully. William Walton still woke up. Seeing her get off the bed, he got up and asked, Why did you get off? She blushed. I need to go to the bathroom. I'll go with you. No need. I know where the washroom is. I saw your entire body before. What is there to be shy about? She rolled her eyes at him and said, Can you stop talking nonsense? Am I not telling the truth? Even if it is, I don't need you to accompany me anyway. She didn't want him to accompany her. Who would go to the toilet with others watching from the side? It's so embarrassing. She held the IV bag high in the air and walked to the bathroom. William Walton followed her and she glared at him. He said in a speechless manner, Don't worry, I have no interest in seeing you peeing. I'll send you in and I'll come out. Only then did Laura Green allow him to receive the infusion bag. After helping her hang up the bag, he left first. He sighed. This woman is really... Even when she was sick, she didn't forget to hang the thorn on her body. Didn't she understand that she was a girl and that she didn't need to be so strong now and then? After doing this a few times, she finally managed to sleep soundly at 3 in the morning. She slept until dawn, when Butler brought them breakfast. Because of her stomach, William Walton called and had people prepare porridge that was easy to digest. When she was eating, Butler went out first. She looked at William Walton warmly and said very emotionally, "Thank you." "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for sending me to the hospital last night, for taking care of me for the whole night, and for letting Butler cook porridge for me this morning." It sounds like my contribution is indeed not small, so shouldn't you give me some reward?" He got up from the sofa and walked over to her, bending slightly and poking himself in the cheek. "I don't like to thank you verbally, so let's do something practical." She frowned. "William Walton, are you the serious CEO from the rumors?" The CEO must be serious, but William Walton not. He smiled evilly and poked his face once again. "Hurry up, or else I'll have to do it myself. If I take the initiative, it'll just be a light kiss." When she thought of the way he had kissed her, she quickly surrendered. She leaned forward and placed a kiss on his cheek. Right at this moment, William Walton felt her breathing and quickly turned his face. Her lips were imprinted into his. Laura jumped in fright, and she hurriedly turned her head back. He pressed the back of her head and deepened the kiss. Ah! She was scolded in her heart by William Walton, the big bad wolf, again. William Walton felt good and let go of her. He smiled mischievously and looked at her. Her face flushed red as she covered the corner of her lips and shouted, "William Walton, yes, I'm here. Why are you always lying to me?" William Walton was in a good mood. "I'll let you remember that when a man wants to take advantage of women, he will do whatever he can. So, in the future, you have to be wary of men other than me, otherwise." As he spoke, he scratched her nose lovingly. "It's you, little stupid cat, who's at a disadvantage." She felt so stifled. Why did she always suffer a loss in front of William Walton? It was clear that other men, and even Avery Harris, who was with her in the past, had not been able to successfully sneak an attack on her, but he always succeeded. She felt like she was going to explode with anger, okay? William Walton patted her head. "Butler will stay here to accompany you. You should eat and rest well. I'll go and work." "But I haven't requested leave from the company yet." "I will say yes." Laura said, "Your approval is useless. You're not my direct leader. But your leader is under my domination. Even so, to me, you are useless." She said, reaching for her phone, found Zoe's number, and dialed it. "Director, it's me. My apologies, I ate bad last night and have acute gastroenteritis. I'm in the hospital right now. I want to take a day off from the work." All right, thank you. Goodbye." After hanging up, she looked at William Walton. "Aren't you leaving?" William Walton shook his head. "Why, you never pay attention to me?" "Then go and find someone who can pay attention to you." William Walton laughed speechlessly. All men have an inferior nature. They like to hunt. The harder it is to conquer, the more fun it would be. Chapter 85. William Walton, you're so annoying. She stared at him. "So, you mean I'm your prey?" William Walton laughed. "No, you are my treasure." After he finished speaking, he gave her a charming smile before turning around and leaving. Laura stayed speechless. "Baby? Nonsense. Carol Wright should be his treasure." He lied without hesitation. Once William Walton arrived at the company, he called Daniel into his office. He took out his cell phone, found a photo, and handed it to him. Daniel received it, looked at it, and curiously said, "Mr. Walton, this is... Find a reporter to secretly visit this shop. It sells unsafety food. I want you to take it down." Daniel was puzzled. William Walton glanced at him. "Are you still not going?" "Yes, I will go now." Daniel transferred the photo to his phone, then turned and left. He couldn't understand how this take-out store had offended his CEO. At 10:30, William Walton walked out of the office. Daniel stood up, then said, "I'll be leaving first. Give me a call if you have anything to say." "Yes." When William Walton left, he frowned. There didn't seem to be any other activities going on this morning. This CEO was very secretive. There must be a problem. Could it be that it had something to do with Miss Green? William Walton returned to the hospital. Laura was still sleeping. Perhaps she had overworked herself last night, so she hadn't had enough sleep. William Walton let Butler go back first, while he stayed here to accompany her in the hospital. When she woke up, it was already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She woke up hungry. After all, the porridge couldn't keep her from starving. The butler had already delivered lunch, so William Walton had already eaten by himself. When Laura Green saw William Walton, she was slightly surprised. "Why are you here again? When you are hospitalized, you will feel very sad and lonely without someone close to you." Hearing this, she was touched. In fact, indeed, she was grateful that he had such a heart. However, she wouldn't admit it. She pursed her lips. "Who is close to you?" "I'm not close to you at all, okay? Is there anyone closer to you than me in this world? I'm a man who used to come and go through your body." She sat up, grabbed her pillow, and threw it at him. She shouted with all her might, "William Walton, you're annoying." Unfortunately, she was too weak and the pillow hit the ground 2 meters away from him. Seeing her insolence, like a little cat, William Walton laughed softly. In this world, she was probably the only one who could make him laugh so unrestrainedly. The William Walton in front of her was a real person, a true and complete William Walton. He was not the evil being that others talk about, nor was he an ice-cold god, like existence. He was also not a cunning businessman who only knew how to make money. In front of her, although he didn't feel like he existed, he still felt very at ease. She covered her face with her hands and looked at him with an aggrieved expression. William Walton, can we stop talking about this in the future? Isn't this what we agreed upon then? Are you so afraid of having a relationship with me? Am I a bad person in your eyes? Or do you hate me that much? She lowered her hand and said seriously, I don't hate you, nor do I feel that you're a bad person. On the contrary, I feel that you're pretty good, that you're a very good person. The one I disliked was me because I did that thing after being hurt by a bad guy. It has nothing to do with you. William Walton looked at her and laughed. It was not enough for him. He wanted her love. After the infusion in the afternoon, she said that she would be discharged from the hospital. William Walton did not allow it. She looked at the tyrannical young man with a face full of displeasure. I'm in the hospital. Why do I have to be in charge? Because you're not a doctor. The doctor said that I can leave the hospital. I just need to come back every day for the infusion. Now, why don't you ask him? Let's see if he still dares to say such words. That's why I said, aren't you a little too overbearing? William Walton hugged his chest. Stay here for 3 days and you can't leave. There's nothing to discuss this. As long as I don't nod my head, you won't be able to leave this hospital. Do you want to try? Laura stared at him. William Walton laughed sinisterly. It's only at times like these that I feel that money has such a huge power. Laura let out a cold harumph. Seeing that she was angry, William Walton roared. Don't you think the same way, which is why you are working so hard to earn money? I'm different from you. Then why do you like money so much? She curled her lips and said, because money can give me a sense of security. He looked at her and smiled speechlessly. Feeling safe isn't a sense of security given by someone else. No, I feel that I have to give myself a sense of security. Girls should save some money to have confidence. After all, it's a long journey. The only thing that can accompany me is money. He rolled at her. What did she say? So, you intend to be alone until the end of time? Of course not. I've never thought about living this life alone. If you want to get married, why is there only money to accompany you? Do you think your future husband will not give you that sense of security? So don't marry someone that can't give you a sense of security. I want to be independent. I don't want to be restricted by men because of money in the future. I don't want to be humiliated by men because I want to ask them for money in the future. I don't agree with you. If a man humiliates you because you spent his money, it proves that you have found the wrong man. Since you are willing to marry him, you are entitled to share everything about him, including his fortune and himself. If you find the right man, then in the future, the only thing you can rely on is not money, but your reliable husband. She looked at him, and after a moment of silence, she shook her head and smiled. There are many different kinds of men in this world. Every single one of them is very good at acting, and girls are easy to be cheated. So, a girl can't distinguish a bad guy before she marries him. There aren't many girls that can determine whether a man is reliable or not before marriage. Sigh. I've discovered that you, as a woman, really like to worry about your future. Because this is my future, of course, I have to be careful. I don't want to cry in a luxurious car, but I also don't want to cry on a bicycle. I don't have parents, so I can only rely on myself. William Walton looked at her. Sometimes, he felt that the two of them were similar, especially that feeling of loneliness. She stayed in the hospital for 3 days. On the 4th day, she went back to work. After all, this amount of money was not a small sum for her, and she had no intention of giving it up. When she returned from lunch at the cafeteria, she noticed that there was something wrong with the atmosphere in the office. Everyone gathered around the computer, discussing something. From far away, she heard someone say, Damn, after so much commotion, we made such a big mistake. A dog that knows how to bite doesn't bark.